We're live. We're back.
Well, I have no idea where we were. We're having, I'm sorry to say this, technical problems. Holy cow. What does that cover? Technical.
Well, it seems like somebody doesn't want us to be on air. It's almost like somebody doesn't want us sharing these things.
Well, let's just keep going.
Yeah.
I don't know where we were.
And
I don't know which way we were headed, but we'll crank the car and we'll start the journey again.
Yes.
Okay, so we were talking about, I was talking somewhat about the things that are taking place, the woke, the transgender, okay. You know, this is why I started early on by saying it's very difficult for me, who grew up with the more things change, the more they remain the same, to sit here and go, well, that still is the case. That still is the case. Now, instead of trying to take a negative situation and make it more negative, I believe we should take a negative situation and try to make a positive so that maybe we can get back on track as to what, you know, most people just want to, excuse my old school thing here, just get up and get along. That's what most people want to do to this day, whether they drive a Cadillac or whether they drive a Chevrolet, whether they live in a mansion or whether they live in an 1,800 square foot house. Most people can get along. Most people can get along. Yesterday, I was at the golf course, and there was a wonderful black family having a family reunion. So he started hugging people goodbye. And so I kind of stepped over there and went, you can't hug all these people and not hug me. I want a hug. And I got a wonderful hug from this gentleman. I don't know his name. I don't know where he's from. But he gave me the best thing that I can get from a human being, a hug. But just a hug, okay? So then I went into the restaurant, and there's my favorite waitress who is working yesterday.
She's amazing.
She sometimes is not there on a Friday. Well, she came up and gave me a hug, and I gave her a hug back. And then the owner came in the door, and he and I fist pumped. I don't know, what do you call that?
Fist bumped.
Fist bump, fist pumped. I don't know what you call that. But
I thought it was fist pumped.
You know, people who have the attitude of I'm just going to get up and get along have got to take back the political spectrum of the entire world, because you know it's getting to be a sad situation, and it's going to get sadder because you're dealing with the stupidest thing on the planet, which is the humans. And I have said that in one or two other podcasts because it's just the truth. I'm the president of that club by far, just by far. So I'm not here trying to criticize other people as if I'm above the fray. I'm not above the fray. I'm in the quicksand. I'm right there with where everybody else is. You have to get over yourself. And you have to have, as my mother, as I was telling you about your great grandmother, she used to tell me when I was your age, it's okay to be selfish for 15 minutes out of the day. I thought it was okay to be selfish 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 8 hours out of the day because I'm a 16-year-old. And, you know, I'm the center of the damn world. So, you know, but that's what she told me. And as I got older and got into my 20s and my 30s and my 40s and my 50s and my 60s and now my 70s, I found that I needed more me time. So she and I agreed about a year before her death that it was up to an hour. So now that's kind of a joke, but the point is we have to develop some we time, me time. We being you need to sit down with your wife or your kids, and you need to spend some time with them, and they need to spend some time with you. Even more importantly, oh, by the way, uh, I'm in the middle of a game. I can't come be with y'all right now. I got to charge my phone. Uh-oh, that's somebody calling me. I got to talk to them. That is not the way to build family values. We are not building family values. We have lost the way. Now, I just feel like we can do better, and we can do better by discipline. I say, oh, now there's a word for humanity. Discipline. Oh man, that's a word. Woo. And you know what? I'm as undisciplined as anybody you ever met. You could ask me to do 10 push-ups at 10 o'clock in the morning every day, and I'd figure out a way not to do any push-ups any day. I'm as undisciplined as the next person. But it's a necessary attribute when you contact Parkinson's. You have to be disciplined. So you see, there is something that hit me in life that sounds terrible. I mean, Parkinson's is a terrible disease.
But look at it this way, Papa. You're not only Monday, Wednesday, and Friday going to play golf and going to walk at 9 holes.
That's right.
On Mondays and Fridays.
That's
and
right.
You still get some walking time even on Wednesdays as well, because I mean you're playing a sport, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays you're going to your exercise class.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's it's kind of been. I know this is going to sound nutty, but I'm a fruitcake, so let's go. We can go on here with this. You have to make something good out of something bad. That's why I told you that I had a nervous breakdown 4 years, and you know that.
Yeah, I do. I was there.
So out of that came, I can't think and laugh at the same time, so I'm going to laugh. I had lost my way. I couldn't find anything good about anything. Now it's hard for me to find anything bad with anything. But if you do decide that you want to get in the face of somebody that doesn't share your opinion, okay, that creates a whole rigmarole, and it's just terrible. I have a group of golfing friends who may at some time or another look at this podcast. I haven't broadcasted them that I'm doing a podcast, but they come from both political parties, and we seem to be able to sit and talk about subjects without killing each other. In fact, it reinforces our friendship because it's more important than the conversation. That is the friendship. It's like a good marriage. The friendship that the husband has with the wife, or vice versa, is something that's not what you want to break up, is the friendship. And those people that marry their best friends they go through life, they have one mate, uh, they have disagreements on things, but the door doesn't become an option because they're not going to break up their friendship over something they disagree about. Humans can't help but find bad stuff about everything. That's just the way it is. And so, you know, I just I don't know what to make of all this
Monarchy,
yeah,
malarkey.
yeah. So what do you want to go to now?
Well, I feel personally we've we've covered a couple of big subjects on this podcast. Uh, we talked about just a bunch of different things that most human beings wouldn't dare to even air out there, um, because they don't have the guts, first of all, and uh, they don't have the strength.
They don't have peace in their mind. They're not at peace with themselves. You got to be at peace with yourself. You ain't at peace with yourself, you're going to make your life much harder. I've tried that.
Do you think you're at peace with yourself?
Huh? Do what?
Do you consider yourself at peace with yourself?
You're not going to get 100% peace with yourself. That's impossible. That's impossible. But I am more at peace with myself than I have ever been, because I made myself the most unpeaceful person you could become when I broke down. So I've been there, and I know the difference, and that's the reason that I have told you right along that you've got to learn how to put the stress down the commode. You got to learn how to put the frustration down the commode. Have I learned how to do that 100%? Ain't gonna happen. I live to be 500 years old. That ain't gonna happen. I'm as at peace with myself as I can be at this point in time. But I have frailties. I'm a human being. I have frailties. I don't know how to answer certain questions, or I have no answer for that question because I'm not. I've never thought of that. But I try to think of things outside the box. Now, that may have been one of the reasons that I got into trouble mentally. And by the way, you notice how we're skipping around and just having a conversation? Well, this is what my golf group does. We don't even have any damn idea what we're going to talk about. But the kibitzing, for you out there that have never heard that word, it's talking. The camaraderie, the social, is more important to us actually than the golf game. Because every time we sit down and listen to each other, we learn something from each other. And politics is, it's not necessary. We talk about politics, but there's 4, 5, 6, 8 of us, and we're not going to change the election, even if all 8 of us voted for the same thing. But you have to vote. If you don't vote, you shouldn't you shouldn't be allowed to bitch. And that's what's going on. The bitchers don't participate, but they're the ones that are focused on. They don't participate, but they get more publicity than those who are participating. And as you get older, it's going to make you more angry.
Yeah.
And you've got to try not to be angry. You need to find yourself a nice woman, go find an island somewhere, build an 84-foot high fence around the place, and kind of stick your finger up in the air. And, why would you want to do that? Well, because you may be forced into it by the fact that the only way that you can have any peace is to go off and isolate yourself. That ain't a good thing. I tried that. So that ain't a good thing. But it makes you think that's what you need to do. You see? So I really, I just feel very strongly that people have got to get their sense of humor back. They got to start laughing again. They got to find the good in whatever the bad is. And for those of you that think that I'm a biblical person, I don't even attend my temple. I don't do services. I can't read about stuff. I'm 78 years old. And for 73 years, I've been basically, you could say, exposed to the Old Testament or whatever you want to do. I don't read the Old Testament. I don't know what's in it. I had no idea what's in it. I read it when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, and that's the end of it. To me, it's a historical novel. And for those of you that are going to hold that against me, well, you just have to hold that against me. Uh, I'm very involved in religion, but I don't go to a building to practice my religion. I do it on the street. I do it at social gatherings, of which I don't go to many of those. I do it one on one. I do it one on two. It's amazing what you can do if you just go up and say, I like the black, I like that color on you. And next thing you know, you're having a nice conversation about the town you're from, the state you're from, some of the places you've been, what brought you to this area that I live in. And pretty soon both of you are smiling, and you spent that amount of time not stressing, not looking for a fight, not being angry. You got to get. That's why I told you the story about the young black man yesterday.
Yeah.
I was the only white person there. What difference does that make? Everybody loves it. The whole family wanted to hug me, so I wanted to hug them too. That's the situation that we're in. We're not doing these things, and if we're going to, oh, now here's a good word. Here's a good word. If we're going to have some progress made, there's a good word. Progress. Hmm. Are the phones that people can't get off of progress, or has it taken us backwards? Has the fact that the cars that are built can give us better gas mileage, are safer, is that progress? That probably is progress. Human beings, though, in their interactions, are not progressing. They're not even close to progressing. In fact, they're going backwards because um, the same. I'm trying to think of how to say this. Some of the same prejudices and some of the same uh, bad missteps that were taken in past history. As I've said, human beings, uh, if the more things change, the more they remain the same. In some instances, that's very true. Mankind has to be at war all the time. All the time. They don't know how to not have a war. They can't just live side by side, all the way through life. They can't. Uh, why we do that, I don't know. But I'm not a pacifist. I want you to understand that, young man. I'm not a pacifist. I don't own a gun. I have no interest in owning a gun. I think that God gave you a mouth for a reason, and it wasn't to be quiet. Otherwise, I don't think you'd have a mouth. I think you'd without a mouth, okay? But we cannot, we are unable at this point in time in history to talk to each other. And if you try to talk to somebody, somebody in the media will tell you, well, you're very weak to try to talk to somebody. That's very weak. Well, we probably at this point in time have the worst leadership in the history of mankind. And I don't think it's safe to say that it's basically in every country now. There are no leaders. We don't have a Tip O'Neill. We don't have a Dwight David Eisenhower. We don't have a John F. Kennedy. We leaders, people that do things even if it's against their own party's thinking, it's the right thing to do. And the religion that I happen to be, which is Jewish, teaches you that you have to do the right thing no matter what. But they, my own people, are not practicing that. And it's not that they're not practicing this in Israel. If you were surrounded by 15 or 20 angry people, do you think that you can lay all your guns down and live for another day? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you have to do something to protect yourself. Now, that's about all I can tell you about whatever it was we were just talking about.
And what you said you wanted to get into was pro-choice.
Was what?
Pro-choice.
Oh. Well, this is going to be a topic which
trigger warning
is going to be more prevalent as you get older, simply because of the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a little insight into the last election. I don't know if I'm correct or not. It's okay to make mistakes, folks. I make them every hour, every minute of the day. It's okay. You'll go on. Everything will be fine. The women of the United States, God bless them. I wouldn't live on this planet if there wasn't women here. You couldn't keep me here. If God came and said he's taking the women off, one of them's taking me in a suitcase, and I would hope I could get to your grandmother quick enough to get in her suitcase. So I'm a big fan of women. Big fan. So the pro-choice is a situation in which at that time, when Roe versus Wade was overturned, the women did not like that. And they may not have liked the candidates in the party, that would be the Democratic Party. They might not have liked that person. That may not be who they really wanted to vote for, but they voted because the Republicans on that subject have their head buried in the sand, totally buried in the sand. And because of that, this is my take on pro-choice. I'm a father of how many children?
5.
5. I guess that makes me pro-life. Well, I would certainly say that I'm pro-life. Now here comes the confusing part. I'm also pro-choice. because I live in apartment 714. Let's say that your grandmother and I were of childbearing age, and we wanted to have a child.
Mhm.
Or let's say that the couple next door in 712 wanted to have a child. Okay? It is not my right. It is not my responsibility. It is not anything of my business. What is my business is my business. I shouldn't be butting into other people's business. I don't know how, as a major um, party, that you can take choice away from. In other words, I don't have the right to go over to 712 and tell them that they're wrong because they don't want this baby at this time in their life. Okay. Now that's a touchy subject. It'll always be a touchy subject. There's not going to be a day in the life of this world that that's not a touchy subject. But I am pro-choice. I do not have the right to go next door and butt into somebody else's business. And you'd have to say that I'm pro-life because I have 5 kids. That was my choice. I chose to have my children. I don't know why, but I chose that. So what I'm saying is think of how convoluted that sounds. Well, he can't make up his mind. He doesn't know whether he's pro-choice or pro-life. I just gave you, in my world, an explanation of how somebody can be pro-life and be pro-choice at the same time. Because one half of my body is okay with me having kids. The other half of my body doesn't want to get involved in going over and make somebody think like I do. I don't have that right. But, for those of you out there, I'm independently registered. I don't. I do things by issues. That's why I told you the little story about why the Democrats almost held on to the House, because they made the women. The Supreme Court made the women mad, and the women. That was a big subject. That was a big issue for women. It should have been a big issue for women. Abortion is a subject for women. Men should keep their mouth zipped. Now, I am not concerned about those of you who agree with me and those of you who don't agree with me. Because when you speak from your heart, which my name is Heart.
Mine too.
You speak from the heart, and it's hard to lie when you speak from the heart. But I'm telling you, I'm a hypocrite. So you have to take that in mind. You have to keep that in mind. I'm a human. I can't get away from hypocrisy. Can't do it. And so maybe my kids have been successful in life. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, they're all alive and in good health because they go do what they're supposed to do with their doctors. My oldest will be 60 in January. 60. Here I am sitting in this chair, and I'm 78 years old. Where did the years go? Where did they go? Because they're gone. They've left me.
Is this Ellis?
No, it's Jeff.
Oh, it's Jeff is the oldest?
Jeff has always been the oldest, even though he looks the youngest.
I know.
So, it's humans make everything a struggle. They make everything a struggle. And boy, was I the CEO of that company.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! I like to ran my own self out of town. Now, we've covered a bunch of stuff here.
I know we have, haven't we?
Well, let's cover something basic.
Okay.
Because of the fact that your grandmother and I are in the retail business, we have the extreme pleasure and honor to be able to talk to people from everywhere. We've had people in our store from every state in this union, from Puerto Rico, from the Dominican Republic, from China, from Thailand, from Italy, from Russia, from everywhere. We've had people. Mallorca. We've had people from everywhere come in our store. And there are people who are just the same as everybody else. They get angry. They are happy. They have their moments. They have joy. It's this thing about we're different. We are different. We look different. We can't speak each other's languages, but we share this planet, and hopefully there's still enough of us that want to make things easier for people as opposed to making it harder for people. You know, I'm just sitting here just talking.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be looked upon as somebody that could contribute to the future of the world. How do you know that? How do you know that I can't do that? How do I know that you can't do that? How do I know that your mother can't do that? You know, this caste system is still alive and well. It's been around for thousands of years, thousands of years. Okay? There's still a caste system. That goes back to the more things change, the more they remain the same. You can't apply that to just all 100 of the things that you're doing, but you can certainly apply that to, I believe, a majority of the things that humans get themselves involved in. And the reason that you and I have been able to establish a kind of a different grandfather grandson thing is I really don't have. Let me rephrase that. I have always been cursed, because I always look at the big picture rather than just what's in front of me. People, for the most part, don't necessarily like that. And they think you're a little kooky. Guilty. Kooky. You can call my phone and ask if Kookie's here. I'll take the phone. So, because you, as a person, now I'm not talking about you, I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about you, the yous that are out there. There's billions of the yous. They're me and you. They're just not here. That you is over somewhere else. So you have to take responsibility for your own actions. Now there's a good one. Boy, if that ain't a good one. Let's see, that went out the door I don't know when, but it's been during my lifetime. I'm not saying that people took accountability for their actions in 1863. There were a ton of them, but I didn't live during that time. I can only gather from the time that I've been here. I am not responsible personally for the things that were done. Well, here I am being Jewish. Things were done to the Jews thousands of years ago. They're still being done to the Jews. I can't be responsible for the people that did what they did 2,000 years ago, but I can try to make the people today that do this kind of crap responsible. Right now, Christianity is under as much pressure as Judaism is, and it leads me into saying that if you really want to watch the best movie in my world, that really is a testament to the future of the world, is there was a movie that came out in the 60s. Boy, I remember watching the movie like it was yesterday, and it's 2023. That's 60 years ago or more. I was barely 20 years old. I might not even have been 20 years old. It's called Americathon. It's the best movie that I've ever seen on the history of. It's a comedy. It's a comedy. Anything that would have John Ritter and Fred Savage in it. I'm not sure that I'm giving you the right Fred. Harold Ramis. Those people knew what they were doing and how to make a statement movie and do it with a comedy, as a comedy. But it tells you exactly where we are headed. 1960 something. And it has exactly almost where we are today. And if you want to watch a fun movie, it'll probably be a hard movie to find.
MyFlixer.2, you can watch it.
Huh?
I said MyFlixer.2, you can watch it.
Well, by George. Maybe we should cut this podcast off and maybe we should go watch that movie. But we're not going to do that.
Not today. So I've got a lot of work to do today.
Well, I know you have company coming into town.
Yeah.
You have a beautiful young woman coming.
Very beautiful and wonderful woman.
You do. You do. So, you know, we've hit a variety of subjects today, and it's always best if you don't have a script.
Yeah.
Because if you're speaking from the heart, that is your script.
Yeah.
That is your script.
And that's usually what a podcast is. Doesn't always have a script.
I don't even know that I know how to spell podcast. I know that I don't know how to make one happen. So I just do what you tell me.
Well, we're under a podcast. This isn't.
Well, you asked me to run my mouth, and I've been doing that.
Well, I'm glad you ran your mouth.
Okay, well, I don't know what we're going to talk about next week.
I'm going to say we most likely been up here for about an hour.
Well, I remember we're going to close in just a second.
Yeah.
I remember that you really wanted today's show to be based on propaganda. And we didn't even talk about that.
Well,
now let that be the reason you do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't something that actually ended up being.
Well, because we needed to get into other details first.
Well, we may come back to everything we've been talking about.
You never know.
I'm too old to remember everything I've said today. So I may say it again next week and bore y'all to death even more. But anyway, y'all have a good week. And I have no idea how many of you even find this interesting, but we're going to keep doing this. Okay, that's it.
And we will see you next week. And thank you for tuning in if you have tuned in.